I'm Brijin, the Museum Stitcher, and welcome to not a floss tube. Welcome to my channel where I talk about cross stitch for today's very exciting 2022 end of year WIP Parade. I am super pumped to be filming this. I'm going to be giving a short introduction about me. I know a lot of people watch WIP Parades as a way to decide if a channel is for them. So I will reintroduce myself on this channel. But I've been doing flosstube for about 6 months now, which is absolutely wild. And while I did film a WIP Parade in June when I started my channel, I have started a lot of projects since then. The flosstube start bug really hit me hard, and I wanted to hop on here and go through all of my WIPs with you, just to kind of show you what I've started since I've started my channel and talk about, the kinds of projects I'm into. I also just love watching WIP parades. They're some of my favorite videos to consume personally, as well as seeing everyone's project bags and needle minders. So I've made sure to include both of those in this WIP Parade. So if you are interested in cross stitch or books or knitting, this is the channel for you, and I hope that you stick around and see something that you like. So this WIP Parade is actually being filmed on December 20th of 2022. I am trying to pre-film some things, and so this should hopefully go up in a few days after I film it, depending on how long it takes to edit. So I am out in my living room where there is dog noise and cat noise. I am an animals person, and so I hope you bear with me as we go through this whole process. My last WIP Parade, I had 25 WIPs, and it took almost an hour for me to go through them, and I have certainly gotten more than that now. I want to say I'm closer to the 40 end. We'll tally up as we go. I'm going to decide through this WIP Parade as well which pieces I will be UFOing or donating or not putting away, which ones no longer speak to me, because I have been stitching for a while, and sometimes you just grow out of projects, or you start something with an intention to do one thing with it, and then you end up kind of switching around your mind. So let me hop into the introduction and we will get going on the WIPs. So grab a beverage, grab a snack, grab your stitching. If you stitched during this WIP Parade, let me know how much progress you got or what you were working on. I love seeing that too. So let's hop into the introduction. So again, my name is Brijin. I am 24 years old, and this is my channel where I talk about cross stitch. I am also a lover of other hobbies. I cross stitch, I knit, I quilt. Quilting was actually one of my very first hobbies, quilting and knitting. I learned to knit when I was 9. I learned to quilt, I don't even know when. My grandmother was a quilter, so when I used to visit her, I would quilt with her and sew with her. So I kind of just grew up doing crafty things. I found cross stitch in the summer of 2021, right after I graduated with my master's degree. And it was love at first sight. I've been a monogamous stitcher almost. I mean, I do my other crafts as well still, but cross stitching has really kind of held a primary place in my heart since then. I live in Fort Worth, Texas, and I work in Fort Worth, Texas. My channel is called The Museum Stitcher because I work in a museum. I do collections related jobs, so I'm dealing hands-on with the artifacts daily. I do a lot of inventorying, a lot of helping with acquisitions, exhibits, design and installation, condition reporting things over time to deal with preservation. I don't conserve art. I know a few people when they give me shout outs mention that I conserve art or textiles. I don't do that. I do have a few textiles in the collection of the museum that I work at that I get to deal with, and they're some of my favorite pieces. But I don't exclusively work on those kinds of things. But I am a museum nerd. I have a bachelor's degree in history and a master's degree in museum studies. So I do love all things old-fashioned and antique, although, surprisingly, I don't have that many reproduction samplers in my current WIP pile, so I need to fix that as we move forward. I'm single, so it's just me, and I have 2 cats, so really, really leaning into the crazy cat lady who crafts aesthetic over here. I have a Fergus and Freezer. Fergus is right here. Let me nab him. Oh, say hello to your public. This is Fergus. He's my tuxedo. He's about 3 and I've had him for about 2. He is my little mischievous heart. He is missing an eyeball and has been since the day I rescued him. And he's the light of my life. And my older cat, I will insert a picture of. Her name is Fraser. If you catch the reference for both of their names, 5 stars to you. I am a reader and they're named after characters. It's from one of my favorite series of all time. Fraser will not be making a Flosstube appearance because she is a scaredy cat. She has a lot of trauma from her past houses. I got her my first year of grad school because I thought she would really do well in an environment living alone with a single person and kind of rehabilitate her. We've come a long way, but those are my 2 babies, my hearts, and I live with my parents right now, just coming out of school, and I love my family. We have a really, really good dynamic, and yeah, so I also live with my parents' 2 dogs and their 3-legged cat. We're kind of a house of misfit animals over here. But yeah, so that's me. I also talk about books on my channel a lot. I'm an avid reader, always have been, and I got really, really back into it after I graduated from grad school, and I haven't looked back since then either. So if you're looking for book recommendations along with your cross-stitch in the kind of romance fantasy genre, I read a lot, of that. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about my channel. Yeah, other crafts I do. The only hurdle you might have is pronouncing my name, but it's really easy. It's just, the body of water that you cross, or what you use to cross over a body of water with an N on the end. So, Brijin, that's me. I hope you like my energy, my vibes, my projects. I know for me personally, when I watch a WIP Parade, I just like seeing what they work on, and if it's kind of similar or if it's really different than what I work on. Sometimes you can kind of stitch vicariously through someone else if you watch their projects. So yeah, so I hope that was helpful for those of you that are new to the channel, and not too boring for those of you who are returning. I have loved doing Flosstube ever since I started, and I've been stitching for about 1.5 years now, so I've gotten some good progress in on that. So as far as this WIP Parade is concerned, I'm going to go through my WIPs one by one. I'll share my project bags, I'll share my needle minders, I'll share stats on when I started the projects, materials, all of those kinds of things. And then once I'm done, I will kind of give a 2022 wrap up with how many things I started in total, how many things I finished this year. I might do a film finish parade, but we'll see if I get there. Yeah. And then we'll talk about some of my plans for 2023. I always love hearing about other people's stitchy plans as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so like I said, I've only been stitching for about 1.5 years. So my oldest project comes from the fall of 2021. And I have like 2 big buckets of project bags, and I ironed all the WIPs. You guys, I went the extra mile for you. Also, that is Cowboy Santa. I did say I live in Texas, and what you gonna do? Okay, so let me get myself oriented here. First project, Bayoun Cat by Owl Forest Embroidery. This is my oldest WIP, and it is embarrassing that I've only worked on it 1 day in 2022. But I did work on it a lot in 2021 when I started it. I started this one on September 28th of 2021. And I am doing it on the kitted Owl Forest Embroidery flosses and linen that I got from Russia. And this one I keep in a Goose Designs project bag with some Lori Holt fabric. And here's where I'm at. I am pretty far on this one. I've only worked on it 1 day this year. So all of this progress comes from September to December of last year. I just really haven't been called to work on this one recently. I know it's embarrassing. I really need to pull it back out and get more work on it. When a project is this close to being finished, it just needs to be plugged through. But I feel like this is a pretty good introduction project for who I am. I am a cat person. I have my 2 cats, and this was stitched in remembrance of them. I mean, they're alive. You just met one, but you know what I mean. So that's the first project. I swear, staying organized for a WIP parade is so difficult. This next project is my second oldest, and surprisingly, I do think this is going to end up being one of the projects that I de-kit and give away. This is Nevermore by Lila Studios, and I love this pattern. I think it's really cool, but it is very dense stitching, and I've worked on it for like 5 days, and I just feel like every time I'm plugging away at it, I'm not like getting actual progress. And that's just a little like, I don't know, it always just kind of like kicks my stitchy bug away, and you don't really want your projects to do that. So I am keeping this one in a Little Boat 88 project bag. I love her project bags. She's a Canadian bag designer and maker, and they are so good. So you can see my flosses in here. I am doing the Forbidden Fiber Company conversion for this one, and I started it on October 31st. It was my Halloween day start of 2021. And the Forbidden Fiber Company conversion is on a 40 count morning mist, and this is what I have done. And I feel like this took me 10 years to finish this little chunk. Needle minder on this one is from Mad for Minders. The majority of my needle minders are from Mad for Minders. But I mean, the fabric is gorgeous. The pattern is really cool. I just don't feel like I'm working on it fast enough to be happy about it. And every time I pull it out, it just doesn't bring me that much joy. And there are too many patterns to stitch things that don't bring you joy personally. These are the flosses. Forbidden Fiber Company makes great flosses. The variegation is nice. They're lovely to work with. So I will probably be de-stashing that one relatively soon. I mean, we all have projects that we don't really feel called to work on anymore. I don't know, unless you're a monogamous stitcher who really only stitches one thing at a time. Maybe you don't get quite tired of your projects in the same way. It must be nice. I am not that way. As you can see, I have a lot of projects on the go. When I started, actually, I told myself that I was only going to have 3 projects at a time. And here we are buckets later. So that's how that went. My next project is the Days of Christmas Samplers by Hello from Liz Mathews. This is actually an ongoing series that Liz is currently designing, but I am stitching them all as one giant piece, including all of the individual borders. And this is a project I think I will be de-kitting and restarting on a different fabric. So I keep mine in this Mad for Plaid project bag from the Fat Quarter Shop. It is an absolutely huge bag that is great for a project like this that has 7 patterns so far. We'll have a total of 12. I have all of my called for NPI silks. I wanted this project to be fancy, so I have all of the silks that are called for. And the reason that I don't like my fabric choice is because I decided to stitch this 1/1, sorry, on a 32 count vintage Smokey White linen. Fergus, move. And this is where I've gotten to. And it makes each one of these little squares very manageable and small. However, I actually hate stitching 1/1 on linen. I feel like my threads are constantly slipping behind. My stitches just don't look like they're there. It's just not very enjoyable for me, and to commit to doing a grid of 4x3 of all of these pieces on this. I mean, I love the fabric. I love the way the flosses look. It's just, my stitches aren't laying, and I'm not working on this because I don't enjoy the actual process of stitching. And I know there are people that only stitch to finish things, but I like enjoying the process as well. I mean, we spend a lot of time cross stitching, and I don't love it. So I have quite a bit done on this, so I might be donating the chunk I already have done and then just restarting. The fabric I'll be restarting on is a 46 count linen. So I'll be stitching 1/2 instead of 1/1. It will make the piece quite a bit larger, but I think this piece is going to be such an heirloom piece, I don't mind having it bigger. But this one I started on December 17th of 2021, and I don't have, honestly, enough progress to be really mad about restarting. Sorry, my cat has picked the absolute worst time to play. My next WIP was my Christmas Day start of 2021, and it is Woodland Wonder by Glendon Place. This is one of my favorite patterns that I have on the go right now. I love it. It's so beautiful and wintry. And I just showed this off in my most recent floss tube, so you guys have already seen where I'm at on this one if you are a watcher of my channel. But I am stitching mine on a 32 count Vintage Country Mocha linen with all of the called for DMC, Krynic, and beads. This is actually a piece that is stitched and beaded like a mirabilia. So I am just doing all of the stitching, and I will go back and bead the entire thing later. Another needle minder from Mad for Minders that I absolutely love. And I just adore this piece. I first saw this piece as a giveaway on the Steel City Stitchers page, and I bought it immediately. And then another one of my favorite floss tubers at the time, Megan at Georgia Girl Stitching, started this as part of her New Year's Eve 12 by 12. And yeah, so lots of people stitching this one. I absolutely love it. All I have left to do are the last 2 trees and some snowflakes and the beading. So his antlers are entirely out of Cryonic. I hope the sparkle is picking up. It's so cool. It's such a cool piece, and I highly recommend getting your hands on it if you can. And this one lives in another Goose project bag, just some like winter sparkles. This is one of my very first project bags ever, because I started cross stitching after watching the Fat Quarter Shop's quilting channel and then their cross stitch channel. And so I started off working on a lot of Lori Holt and Fat Quarter Shop patterns, and bought bags from the makers that they support and talk about all the time, which one of them is the owner of Goose. So you can see all of the DMCs, Cryonics. This project has a lot to go with it, so it needs a big bag. And yes, so that is everything that I started in 2021. Those are all of my remaining 2021 WIPs. They'll get done when they get done, but everything else is something I started in 2022. And I actually started, how many did I start? I started 35 projects this year. That's so many. So we still have 35 more to go. Well, we don't have 35 more to go because I also finished 15 projects this year. Go me. So I finished quite a few of them, but this was my New Year, New Start for the year 2022. I wanted to start my very first memorabilia, which is at the Met. And I picked this one because I saw an amazing fabric choice from Melissa, the Starless Stitcher on Instagram. I saw it in a Facebook group for memorabilia people, and I immediately knew that I had to dye my own fabric to look like that and do her like this, because I was originally kind of leaning towards the very popular Egyptian conversion for her. And once I saw this kind of dark purpley maroon fabric, I knew it was over. This was what I was going to stitch. So I started this on January 1st of 2022, and this is where I'm at. I am so proud of this piece of fabric. This is a 28 count even weave that I dyed myself, and the dye took so fantastically. It's just liquid Rit dyes. And I've worked on this a good bit throughout the year. I don't think I've touched it in the latter half of the year. Primarily worked on it toward the beginning of the year, but it's fine. Mirabilias take a while. And so anyway, got a lot done on her so far. You could see I couldn't resist just attempting to bead it right there, but I will be saving the rest of the beading just because I like to use a 7-inch Morgan hoop when I stitch, and that's not really conducive to trying to slot it over beads. So that is my plan for this one here. But I love this piece. I have like 10 other mirabilias in my stash that I would like to stitch one day. And I don't know when I will ever have the time to do that because it's been very slow going unless you are a I always want to say monochromatic, it's monogamous. I have this one in another Mad for Plaid project bag from the Fat Quarter Shop, but what is special about this one, and this is probably one of the things I'm known for, this is one of the things I talk about all the time on my channel, are these floss keepers. This is a pattern by Carrie of Tiger Lily Designs, and I sewed my own, but on the inside, things falling everywhere. I have a zipper pocket where I normally keep my piece, a slip pocket behind that where my pattern lives, and then right here I have all of my flosses on bobbins in these bobbin pockets. But these aren't your mama's bobbins, okay? These are very special bobbins from Adam Hart Cross Stitch. I will have her shop linked down below. They are actually floss drops disguised as bobbins. I'm a floss drops kind of a gal, but these allow me to keep them as floss drops. I have a spot for all of my extra odds and ends of thread, and I can wind it up as a bobbin and store it as a bobbin, which is great for these large projects that store long term. I feel like my flosses don't wrinkle or crinkle as badly, and it's just better for me storage wise. So I have everything in here, and then I have this extra large bag to slip it into, which also holds all of my beads, my extra silk flosses that don't quite fit in my keeper, and the actual fabric piece itself. So I highly recommend going to check out Adam Hart Cross Stitch, her floss bobbins. She has floss chips, she has floss hearts. I have like one of everything. I highly recommend her products. They're fantastic. And then, you know, you're supporting a local business as well, which I also like. Okay, now between January and April, I didn't start anything else that I didn't finish. So my next new start comes from April of 2022. This is the Bookcase by Galliana Cross Stitch. I first saw this piece when Stitches by Shelby was working on it. She has since finished hers. She did an amazing rainbow bookshelf conversion. Absolutely adored it. But I am doing my own conversion on this one. I keep it in this bag that I sewed myself, my own design. I quilted it myself. Again, I was a quilter first, so making my own project bags kind of felt really natural. This one I have a matching grime guard. It fits an 11 by 11 Q-snap, and I love it. It is a fantastic bag. But I'm doing my bookcase on a 36 count Highland linen by Picture This Plus. Here's where I've gotten to. This piece is massive. It's like 225 by 270 something stitches, and I have currently only worked one color. My goal is to finish out the whole bookshelf before I start on my books. My idea for this one is kind of a pastel southwestern palette, but I am doing the bookcase in just a solid brown. This is Black Walnut by Color and Cotton. I am stitching this one 2/2, so it does have quite a bit of full coverage. And the needle minder from this one is from Fangirl Fibers. It is the Night Court Insignia from the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I'm a Sarah J. Maas fan as well. Might be helpful for you to know about me if you're a reader. But I love this piece. This was my reward start after I finished like 3 things in a day. And I have not worked on it as often as I should have. But I absolutely adore it. I adore all of these, right? Like, why would you start a piece that you don't love? Or why would you continue working on a piece you don't love? Unless it's a gift for someone you love and love is still involved. I'm starting to not make any sense, which is great because we are not halfway through. My next piece is part of a whole series of lots and lots of new starts. I went on a new starts kick in May, and it definitely shows. So this one I started on May 7th of 2022. This is the Fox by Cottage Garden Samplings. This is the first in their Year in the Woods series. I have purchased all of those patterns. I got them auto shipped from Abby the Top Knot Stitcher, who if you've not shopped with, go check her out. I keep this one in a Little Boat 88 Fox bag because it's appropriate. And I'm doing mine on a 40 count Morning Mist by Forbidden Fiber Company with the called for DMC. Needle minder is from Rebel Stitcher Designs. And I haven't gotten very much progress in on this. I've finished the cabin, outlined the fox's face, and done some trees. My only concern with this one is I think I picked a fabric that's slightly too light. My snowflakes don't show up very well, but I think in the long run, it's gonna be fine. They show up better in person than they do on camera with the lights, so I think it'll be okay. It's just a little bit of a different vibe. The call for fabric is a much deeper gray, and so it pops a little bit more. But this is one of my favorite WIPs that I just haven't worked on enough, and I need to pull it back out more in 2023. My next WIP is Love Gains by Modern Folk Embroidery. I started this one on May 14th of 2022, and this one is in a Forbidden Fiber Company bag that I got with my Discovery of Witches kit that they did. And I thought it would be a perfect home for this one. This is a monochromatic sampler that I will be recharting to be a Court of Thorns and Roses themed. I'm gonna rechart the inside quote. Haven't done it yet. Got a long time before I get there because I've only worked on this for 2 days. But this is on a 28 count, which is kind of wild for me. I don't normally stitch on 28 count anymore. I typically prefer stitching on a 36 count or a 40 count, or if I have to do 2 strands, I usually will do a 32 for the projects that require beading, or if I have a specific size frame in mind, I will adapt my fabric to fit that. But this is a 28 count Stay with the High Lord Even Weave from Fangirl Fibers. I was part of her A Court of Thorns and Roses fabric club for a good portion of this year. And the floss that I'm using is Salem Light, which is a limited edition color and cotton floss that's kind of a dark charcoal gray to light gray. It's got lovely color variegation. It's going to be absolutely massive. But I'm doing this one on a 28 count because, number one, the color of this fabric is absolutely amazing. It's like a warm orchid, I guess would be the way to describe it. And I loved that. I really, really wanted to use this fabric specifically. And the other reason is the chart has the quote stitched 1/1, while the rest of it is stitched 2/2, because it is a reproduction sampler. And so I will be recharting the quote 1/1 when the time hits there. I'm thinking I'm just going to pull one of the most popular quotes from the series about the dreams who listen, or no. You know, if you're a mouse fan, you know the quote. It's Farah and Reese at Starfall. But I might change it to a different one, depending on when I do my next ACOTAR reread. So that is that one. Next project, I have in another me-made bag. This was just made out of some strips of leftover fabric from a quilt I finished earlier this year, and I thought it would be perfect for this piece. This is Spring Quakers by Rosewood Manor. I did originally want to do all of the seasonal Quakers by Rosewood Manor, but I'm having a little bit of a crisis. I started this one on May 15th, so literally one day after I started the last project, I started this one. I am doing it on the called for 28 count Valor Linen by Picture This Plus with the called for Valdani threads. It's a gorgeous green, but here's the thing. These Valdani threads, they are a 3-stranded floss that you are meant to use all 3 strands on a 28 count because it comes off the ball ready to go. And it is thick. It is not the most enjoyable thing to stitch with, in my opinion, although the variegation is lovely. So I am considering scrapping this and starting it over on a 36 count fabric with 1 strand of the Valdani. Obviously, I haven't gotten far enough into this project that I wouldn't be sad if I lost my progress. But I did start a different one of the seasonal Quakers this year, and I got a lot of progress in on that one. So committing to doing the whole series on 36 means scrapping a whole bunch of progress, and I don't know how I feel about that personally. So I have been avoiding working on these because I'm unsure of my next steps, especially considering I already have the other 2 kitted with 28 count fabrics ready to go. I just don't know if I want to stitch an entire 4-part series of pieces that are 178 by 200 something, with threads that I don't necessarily love stitching with. It's very thick. And if you've worked on a Picture This Plus fabric, you know Picture This Plus is an especially tight weave. Variegation's stunning. I don't know. I would also need to find a fabric that I liked. Maybe move to a Bestitch Me. I don't know. This piece also, I just don't necessarily think I love the green behind it. I kind of want something a little bit more springtime. I was born in the spring, so spring things, in my opinion, always have to be the prettiest. And if you're trying to compete with autumn Quakers, that's hard. Because autumn Quakers is absolutely flipping stunning. I will die on that hill. It is the best one. So, I don't know. I've made some changes to my fabrics on my other one. But yes, that's my issue with this one. So when I show you my summer Quakers in a second, maybe you can help me decide. What do you think? Should I stick with it even though I don't love it? It's also kind of my dilemma on my 12 Days of Christmas piece. As you can see, I'm horribly indecisive on restarting things. That being said, the next project is also on a 28 count. This is the Mini Mystery Mandala number 3 by Chatelaine Designs. I got heavy into the Chatelaine rabbit hole, And my grandfather actually purchased my first chatelaine kit for me from European Cross Stitch. It is the Medieval Mystery Mandala. No, Medieval Town Mandala. It's not a mystery. But I decided to grab a mini chatelaine to get myself into the process as well. So this is the mini chatelaine that I chose. If you're not familiar with chatelaines, they are an extremely complex, large mandala type design that has specialty stitches as well as cross stitches, has beading, it has specialty threads. It's a huge investment in both time and money, and they are difficult to source materials for, which is why you usually do it through a company, European Cross Stitch. It's a whole wild thing. And the specialty stitches scare me a little bit. So I decided to dip my toe in the water with this one, and I have finished the first whole part, beading and all. So you can see the kind of glitter of the large beads and the metallic floss. And it is lovely. I'm doing this one on a 28 count because there is beading. Usually, if you're not familiar, beaded projects, you need to do them on a 28 or 32 in order for the beads to fit correctly in the spaces that you're leaving for them. So yes, needle minder from this one is from the Fat Quarter Shop, and it is did I already say it's a mushroom Lugana? I started it on May 19th. I told you I started a lot of things just in May. But I love this one, and I really need to finish it so that I can start my big mandala. It's just also that is a huge investment, and I don't know that I'm mentally prepared to start it. I originally had bought it to be my birthday start last year, but European Cross Stitch takes a while to source the materials. So if you're going to order a chatelaine, you need to be prepared to wait about 6 to 8 months to get your materials to start it. So you really have to plan ahead. My next start was my Memorial Day start. I started this one on Memorial Day. Memorial Day was my late grandmother's birthday, so I wanted to start a piece that reminded me of her. She passed away in 2021, so it was her first birthday. Well, she was not on this earth. And I wanted to start something that was really her, quintessentially. And because she was born on Memorial Day, and her second husband, my step-grandfather, was born on the 4th of July, they were a very patriotic couple. A lot of stars aligned for them that way. So I wanted to start something a little bit patriotic for her. And I decided to start Memorial Day by Hands On Design. And this is where I'm at. I'm stitching mine on an 18 count cornflower Ada by Fiber on a Whim. And I am using the called for Sulky thread pack. Sulky is really nice because you just cut it straight off of the skein. Here, let me show you. This is the project bag I have this one in. It is from Creative Carol Designs. I love this bag. It has a handle, it has a vinyl pocket, but it still has fabric on the bottom so it doesn't stretch the vinyl. Highly recommend them. This is what the sulky threads look like. They come on spools, and you just cut it directly off the spool and use it that way. So the coverage is fantastic on an 18 count Ada, which normally I struggle on 18 count, finding 2 strands is too thick, but 1 strand is too sparse. And the sulky thread, the weight kind of falls in the middle for me. So this piece, I am doing one of the flags as the American flag. The center flag, I am going to convert to the suffragette flag. And the final flag, I'm going to convert to the Texas flag because I live in Texas. And then my plan is to kind of finish it into a drum. I think it'll be really cool. And just a fun way to kind of think about my grandmother. This piece is really just for her and my memory. And then also my mom will love displaying it. So that is that piece. Very special. I do a lot of cross stitch in memorial of my grandmother. She was a huge crafter, a huge quilter. And yeah, she inspired me a lot creatively. She quilted right up until her last year of life. She was 90 when she passed away. And she was making charity blankets for the firehouses. She cranked them out. It was crazy how much she crafted. My next start was a Move Forward in Love. This is this was Modern Folk Embroidery's charity Pride stitch along for the summer, and I had grand plans of finishing it. I started this on July 1st? June 1st, when the stitch along started and I didn't keep up. This piece is dense. I'm stitching mine on a 46 count Over the Moon linen from Color and Cotton with Forbidden Fiber Company Dark Cherry as my floss. And this is where I've gotten to. Is that correct? No, it's not correct. This is where I've gotten to, actually. So because it's on a 46 count, it's only gonna be about a 5-inch square finish, and I'm saving the wording till the end because wording is my favorite part of any cross stitch piece. But I'm about halfway done, and my needle minder is a Schitt's Creek needle minder from Fangirl Fibers. I really need to finish this one. I had grand plans of finishing it this summer. Didn't happen. I started too many things this summer for me to actually finish things, which is a problem, but I kind of loved the colors on this one. It's something I pulled entirely from Stash, and I really need to get back to it. Modern Folk Embroidery has some of the best cross-stitch patterns. I highly have to refrain myself from buying them because they're all huge, all the ones I love. And this is one of the little ones, which is why I kicked in on it also. It was for charity, so always will do that when it's the case. Next project, oh, let me show you the bag for this one. This is a project bag from Little Boat 88. It is the Dripping Roses from Tula Pink's Alice in Wonderland collection. I've loved this fabric forever. It comes with a thread bed and it fits everything perfectly. So this is one of my favorite project bags. Part of the reason I wanted to finish the pattern was to free up the project bag. What you gonna do? All right, next one. This is the Tudor Rose Biscornu from Heartstring Samplery. I started this one as a project to stitch while I watched Stars is Becoming Elizabeth. I wanted to stitch on a Tudor motif pattern while I watched that, and then I never finished the mini-series. It's one of those ones where I felt like I needed the entire series to be finished before I watched it so I could just binge it. Because, you know, a lot of times with historical TV shows, you really need context, and it takes so long to learn the characters and everything. I mean, I know who they are because I'm a history major, but my family doesn't. And so it takes a long time for recognition to happen. So I was waiting for the whole series to come out and I never ended up working on it. So I started this on July 2nd of 2022. No, I did not. I started this on June 18th. And I keep this in a bag that I got from the 805 Stitcher. It is a travel themed bag, and she fussy cut London to be on the front and Paris to be on the back, since both of those places were places that I went when I studied abroad in undergrad. Here's where I'm at. Needle minders from Mad for Minders again, and I'm doing a partial conversion, partial called for. This is on a 36 count cream and sugar linen by Fiber on a Whim, one of my favorite neutral fabrics. And I am doing everything as called for except for the reds. The two reds I decided to change. I wanted them to be actually red. And a lot of times when you're working with more prim designs like this one, the reds tend to be pink. And I wanted a proper Tudor Rose. So I decided to do my own conversion to Weeks Dye Works Cayenne and Classic Colorworks Ruby Slipper. I'm not sure I'm loving how this is coming out on the fabric together. I think the reds are a little bit too close when it's just one strand on 36. I don't know that I'm getting the definition for all of the little intricate designs on the inside of the rose. I feel like it's all just kind of merging into one red. But I am still thinking on it. I don't know that I have a backup red, so I also really don't want to pull it all out. So we will see where that one gets to, but I would like to watch some more Tudor or historical TV shows, and I will hopefully pull that out when that time comes. Okay, so Cat's on the next project bag, which is great. This is a rip. Okay, this is my summer Quakers. So I just showed you spring Quakers. This is the summer version in a project bag I made myself out of some Lori Holt fabric. There is a matching grime guard. I don't know where it is. Oh, I do. It's on another project you'll see later. I have my two most recent projects still in the Q-snap. It's fine. Here's where I'm at. So my conversion on this one, I changed out the fabric. The called for fabric is Truffle by Picture This Plus, which is a lot more pinky, warm, neutral. And I wanted it to scream summer. I wanted it to look like the inside of a swimming pool or a bright summer sky. And this is 28 count Coastal by Picture This Plus. Needle minder is from Mad Reminders again. You can see I have a lot more progress on this one. I'm about a quarter of the way through it. And this is the reason that I'm not sure that I want to frog or like dispose of this and restart it on a 36 count, because I do love this fabric. I love the way it plays with all of the colors. I just actually hate stitching with the Baldani, and I don't know that I want to abandon this, but I also don't know that I want to restart it, and I don't know. So let me know what you think, if you think I should restart it on a 20 or a 36 count or a 40 count, or just be a trooper and stick with it and get it done. But this one I started as a stitch along with my friends, the Seattle Stitcher and Alexis_My Amazing World. This is my first ever stitch along that I ever started myself, so it will always hold a special place in my heart. And we use the hashtag Summer Quakers Sal with 2 S's. And it was really, really fun to kind of be like a newbie baby stitcher and be starting hashtags. It felt very fancy to me. And I love Megan. She's still one of my dearest Flosstube friends. And Alexis as well. We talk all the time, and I'm so thankful for them. And that this brought me to them. So I started that one on June 25th with the both of them. And yes, I'm having a dilemma on continuing going or abandoning and restarting. But my whole plan was to start these seasonal Quakers in the season that they were representing and only work on them during that. And then I didn't start autumn because I was having this whole panic, and I didn't start winter either. And here we are. Next project is one of my favorite projects of all time, one of my favorite WIPs. This I also saw on Megan's channel for the first time, and I started it on July 2nd of 2022. This one is Miss Bingley's Library by Plum Street Samplers. And I am using all of the called for weeks dye works with a 36 count mystery limited edition linen that I got off of Color and Cotton's website. This is what I have. So I made a couple changes to this pattern so far. I did change the bird to be a cat. I made it with the light gray color in the pattern, representing my cat, but it's not showing up super great. So I might be back stitching around the cat or changing the color of the cat completely, depending. I kept the flag as the British flag because I did study abroad in the UK, so that has special meaning for me. But I have recharted the quote underneath. It's the same quote, you know, I shall be miserable if I have not an excellent library. But I have changed it so it doesn't have all the hyphenation and like line breaks in the middle of words because it bothers my brain. So I've done that, and I've also added in Jane Austen's initials, which aren't present on the original piece. So I am looking forward to finishing the house and getting to, you know, have this project finished. So I have one of my favorite needle minders as well. It's a stack of all of the Outlander books. I'm a huge Outlander fan, and that needle minder is special to me. And this one lives in a project bag that I got from Jasmine Custom Bags on Instagram. It is absolutely massive, and I have to say it's probably the most well-made project bag I've ever purchased in my whole life. It's absolutely huge. It has a nice big front pocket where I keep my scissors and extra flosses and things. And then the big inside cavity fits an 11 by 11 Q snap perfectly. I have these flosses again on Adam Hart thread bobbins, all the called for weeks dye works. I don't know if you guys can see the cloud of dust that just came off of these, but I haven't worked on this since the summer, so really need to get back to this one. That is the first bin. We are now on to the backup bin. Folks, we're doing it. Are you guys doing okay? Everybody doing good? It's been 47 minutes. I haven't eaten dinner yet. Hydration is important. Make sure you're hydrating, because I'm sure mine is not the only WIP Parade you're watching. Next one, this one, I love this piece. I am so sad I have not gotten more progress in on this one. This piece is Rejoice Evermore by Brenda Gervais of With Thy Needle and Thread. It is an absolutely beautiful sampler, but I have chosen to do the Leo and Roxy conversion that's available on the Evertote website. And it has the Leo and Roxy linen with all the Leo and Roxy flosses. And this is where I'm at. This is porcelain. It's a 46 count linen. And I did it that way because the piece will come out to be about 10 inches square, which means I can get a 11 or 12 inch square frame pre-made from Michaels for framing. But it is absolutely stunning. Another one of my favorite needle minders from Mad for Minders. And I only worked on this for like a weekend before I put it away. But I love it. And let me show you the flosses for this one. I have this in a project bag I also got from Evertote to match it, which their project bags are also really fantastic if you're in the market. This is the smaller size, but they also have a large size. This size fits in 8x8 Q-snap. The large size fits in 11x11. I'll show you the large size later. But it also comes with a mini bag that goes on the inside for odds and ends. I keep my scissors and extra threads, duplicates in there. And these are the flosses. Look how absolutely gorgeous those are. These are on the Adam Hart thread hearts. These were my first love from her. They are the best floss drops in my opinion. Have places for extra floss. You can also wrap these up like bobbins, but I don't feel like they wrap as well as her actual bobbin shaped ones. But these flosses are absolutely freaking awesome to work with. I have to say that Leo and Roxy is probably my #1 floss dyer. It's a big claim, I know. Followed closely by Color and Cotton, and then Forbidden Fiber Company, and then DMC, and then everybody else. I prefer a skein that you get about 8 yards with, and it makes me feel like it's a better bang for my buck. I don't like buying 5-yard skeins. I feel like I barely get any floss, and I love what Leo and Roxy stands for. I love their company. I think it's great. So highly recommend those. My next WIP, I started because I wanted this WIP started in 2022. This is the Platinum Jubilee Flora by Siren Stitchworks. This was done in celebration of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in 2022, and I started this because I wanted this done in 2022, and then she passed away in 2022, so it's now a memorial sampler as well as a commemorative sampler. And I'm doing mine on a 40 count platinum linen by Zweigart with all the called for DMC. It's a simple DMC pattern. But it has the 4 flowers representing the 4 countries of the UK. So we have the English rose, Scottish thistle, Welsh dandelions, and Irish, I think they're forget-me-nots. But I have only done the roses and the E. It'll have, Elizabeth's royal seal. And then it is 1952 to 2022. So this piece, gained a little bit more meaning this year. But I studied abroad in England. I studied British history in undergrad. So this piece was special to me for those reasons. And I think it's a really, really gorgeous floral sampler. I love flowers. I am sad my favorite flower isn't on there. My favorite flower is a poppy, in case you were curious. This is in another project bag from Little Boat 88. They're the best. I love them more than the ones I make myself sometimes. And this one just has a really cool kind of floral plants and cats, like Monstera leaves and cats. I love it. Even when my cat's being a turd. So I started that one on August 2nd of 2022. And I really haven't worked on it that much since I finished that first floral motif on it back then. The next piece that I started is one of my, it's out of order. Next piece I started on August 20th. This was part of 4 starts that I did for Alexis_My_Amazing_World's 34th birthday. She asked everyone to start 4 new projects with her, and I pulled out 4 projects and started them with her. Super fun. I have finished 2 of the 4 pieces that I started for that stitch along. I worked on each piece for 2 days, and I have not worked on this one since. This is the Scissor Sampler by Tell and Emblem. Alexis has this kitted, and she will be starting it one day, but her Sal partner has not gotten the materials in yet, so they're still waiting on that. But this is where I've gotten. This is on a 32 count Tyco linen by Picture This Plus with all of the called for DMC and everything. So I love this. For 2 days work, I'm pretty far through the piece actually. It stitches up very quickly. This needle minder was actually made for me by Alexis. She makes these awesome pin cushion needle minders that you can actually take your needle, and my needle is dull. Actually, that's the wrong side of the needle, that's why. And you can just stick it in there like that. And it's so fun, they're so cool. And I felt so honored that she chose to send one to me after knowing me for literally only being online and only after like a month. She's the coolest, so go check her channel out. But this piece makes me think of her. I just couldn't wait to start it with her because I loved it so much. So love this piece. I want to stitch some other Tell and Emblem pieces as well. She's got these like little butterfly series, and I want to do some of those because I love those as well. Next one was also for the 4 for 34 B-Day sale. Excuse me. And that is Olivia Aqualeaf by Silver Creek Samplers. I wanted something that screamed autumn, and I love this piece. I love the way the lettering is funky and it's almost entirely typography. Love a good quote to stitch. I'm doing this on a 32 count vellum linen by Picture This Plus with all of the Call for Weeks dye works, and I started this one on August 22nd. And this is where I'm at. I have entirely finished the quote. I am working on finishing out the bottom border, and then all I have left is the lady. The variegation in these flosses is fantastic. I love the way they're showing up on this fabric. And it's just a fun piece. It's really good when I want to pull out something that has a lot of color changes. Something with color changes does take a long time to stitch though, so you have to be mindful of that, but it's a fun one. I did go out of order on accidentally. This next piece, I actually started before the 4 for 34 B-Day starts. It's fine. I have the smallest start on it, so I mean, it really doesn't matter when I started it. But this is the Floral Motif Sampler. I am doing mine with all of the called for Gentle Arts. I have these in a Tiger Lily Designs project keeper that I actually bought from Carrie. She sells them once a month, so if you don't want to make one yourself, you can just buy them from her. And as you can see, the floss tags for the Gentle Arts fit in there perfectly. I have a spot for my pattern to fit, and everything is contained all on its own. I just don't have my piece in there because I had to iron it for the WIP Parade. So this one is on my favorite fabric of all time. If I ever come across this, I will buy all of it. All of it. It's so gorgeous. This is 40 count flannel flower linen by Fox and Rabbit Designs. It is so scrumptious, and it's the perfect mix of being a warm neutral without being gold. It has this like gray that kind of doesn't fit, but kind of does. I love it so much. It's like weathered and antiqued, but still modern. I don't know, it's like my perfect sampler fabric. I want to stitch all the things on it, which is really great and motivating. Not great because I only worked on it for 1 day, but I have one of my favorite needle minders on here as well. It is a Kaibot painting, one of my favorites, and I just started it on this top corner, and that's all I have done. So embarrassing. I started this one on August 12th of 2022, and I need to get back to it because, again, like I said, I love florals. I love stitching flowers, one of my favorite things. And this one has a lot of them. If you want to see a fantastic finish of this one, go check out Sarah's Stitchy Spot. She runs an amazing floss tube that has an awesome intro song that I am so jealous of. She's also just like the sweetest, kindest human being ever. So I'm sure you've heard of her by now, but if you haven't, go check her out. She finished Floral Motif Sampler, and I love staring at hers whenever it comes into rotation behind her head when she's talking. It is hugely motivating and highly, highly recommend it. Okay, so getting back on track, now we're entering the season of Halloween whips. So my first Halloween whip was the Haunted Library Sal by Lola Crow Cross Stitch. I know everyone and their mother was participating. I got tricked into starting it because I was watching Frizzy Lizzie Stitches and Heather the 20-minute stitcher, and they were working on it and it looked like fun. So I bought it and I hopped in. I was late to the start of the stitch along, so I am very, very far behind. It's also fairly dense stitching. I am doing mine on a 40 count fabric. I started this one on October 1st of 2022. It is on a 40 count Heather linen by Fiber on a Whim with all the called for DMC. There's quite a bit of DMC in this project, and I love it. I think it's so cool. I finished the outline of the whole top shelf. The gargoyle that sits on the top, I started in on these books, and I started filling in these sections. I went ahead and did this section, even though it was not the first full section, because I was doing the no clown version. There is a clown version. I didn't want that looking at me. So I did the no clown version, and I went ahead and got that stitched so I could go back to using the regular pattern. One of the best things about this pattern is actually the designer has included the entire pattern available for those of us that stitch off of our iPads. We don't have to use page breaks, and we don't have to count through page breaks. It's the whole design on one page. Absolutely love it. She also included a breakdown for people who print out their patterns, and I think that's just a really accessible way of doing things. I really love it. I wish more designers would do a full page version of all the stitches for those of us that use our iPads to stitch or use electronic devices to stitch. And another one of my favorite needle minders from Mad for Minders, it says, "Once upon a time there was a girl who really loved cats. It was me, the end." Love it. So this was the kickoff to my spooky season, but as it turns out, I should not be starting things in October. October is a really busy time for me at work, and I just was not motivated to stitch. I also kind of lost my stitchy bug. I had started so many things when I started my Flosstube channel, and the first kind of lack of stitchy bug really hit me around this time. So I should not have started as many things as I did, but there is a distinct drop off in the number of starts moving forward here. My next one I started literally the next day. This is Halloween Quaker by Lila Studio. I started this one on October 3rd. This is a stitch along that I started with Heather the 20-minute stitcher. It is Spooky Quakers Sal. I was a terrible Sal partner, and I worked on it for one day. We did do a really fun thing though, where when we started the stitch along, we did a Zoom call, and a whole bunch of other stitchers hopped on, and we all worked on the project together and chit-chatted. It was like a 5-hour thing. It was so much fun. I had a massive migraine while it was happening, but I pushed through it. It was fine. I just didn't end up stitching on this after. But I love my fabric choice. I love the pattern, and I really need to get back to it. So I'm sorry, Heather, I'm the worst, but it's a really cool piece. Did I say what it was? Halloween Quaker by Lila Studio? I think I did, but I can't remember. We've done so much of this, and I have 4 more projects after this. So we're getting toward the end. Hang in there with me. I know you guys are the bomb. But this is on a 40 count Midnight Ride linen by XG Designs. I wanted something completely different, something you had never seen before for this. And as you can see, that is my 1 Zoom calls worth of progress on the very first outdoor motif. So I am the worst. And to everyone who participated in that Zoom, you guys are the bomb. And thank you for making it really, really awesome. I definitely want to do more start-alongs with the Zoom thing. It was really, really good time, and it was really fun to actually put faces to some of the names of people, you know, that I loved on Instagram that don't do Flosstube. It was a really, really great time. And this piece is really, really fun. There's a lot of people working on it. I know Laurel of Mountain Laurel Stitches is working on one that looks amazing. Frizzy Lizzie Stitches, Elizabeth of Frizzy Lizzie Stitches is also working on one. Megan Babauta the Seattle Stitcher is working on one. I think Alexis of Alexis underscore My Amazing World is working on one. Lots of people are working on this one. It's a cool pattern. And if you haven't heard of it, it is very popular on the Flosstubes. Okay, next start is a big one. This is Dark Queen of the Earth by Autumn Lane Stitchery. This is the sequel to their Dark Queen of the Seas pattern that came out last year. I decided to join in on this one. It is a little bit more my jam, and it is a really, really cool piece. So I have this one on a 32 count old gold linen by Fiber on a Whim. Again, it's a 32 because this has beading that will be happening later. And I thought this linen was really, really unique and really cool, and it made a lot of the greens pop. I had originally purchased the called for Under the Sea fabrics in Nightshade, but I got the even weave and it came out kind of a neon green and it didn't match the kind of spooky dark queen vibe I was going for. So I panic ordered this as a backup and it ended up working perfectly. So I have finished parts 1 and 2. I have not worked on 3 or 4. I am severely behind, but it's fine. I will catch up. This is where I'm at. I have the Autumn Lane Stitchery needle minder on this one. And again, this fabric is just really cool. It's a perfect kind of laminated gold. It has a deep, deep green undertone, but also kind of brown. I've never seen another color like this, and it's actually picking up on camera okay today, which is a blessing. But there's a lot of stitching in this. I am saving all of the back stitching and beading for the last bit. And this one, I am keeping the same way I kept my Mirabilia. I have it in, throwing scissors, Mad for Plaid project bag. I have all of my extra floss and beads in here. And then here, I have a floss keeper that I made myself off of Carrie's pattern. I modified the pattern so that it's entirely bobbin pockets because this piece has like 50 colors of DMC. Everything's on floss bobbins that are actually floss drops. Remember I showed you guys with my Mirabilia, it's the same thing here, just a different color. Everything is super organized for this year-long stitch along that is going to take forever for me. But yeah, really fun stitch so far. She looks really, really cool. And the designers at Autumn Lane Stitchery do a really, really great job of guiding everyone through it and making it really, really cool and worth everyone's while. So she is a mystery. So if you're not cool with a mystery stitch along, it's not for you. We don't know what she's gonna look like, but they also offer a whole bunch of customizations along the way, different choices that you can make to make your sampler your own or your queen your own. But it's very similar to stitching a Mirabilia, so it is quite large. Okay, we are on to the last 3.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Accidentally clicked off the watch there, sorry. We are down to the last 3. This is another piece I started with Megan and Alexis. I start a lot of things with them because they're probably my closest stitchy friends. I don't have any stitchy friends in my area here. But this is Autumn Cloche by Hello from Liz Mathews. This is an expo release this year, and it kind of broke the internet. Everyone and their mother got this piece, and I loved it. I actually messaged the folks over at Evertote and asked if they would do a conversion to Leo and Roxy for this piece for me, and they did, and it's amazing. Here's what the conversion looks like in the flosses. It is absolutely stunning. This chart is called for with DMC or NPI silks, and I didn't really want to spend the money on NPI silks, especially since they aren't really variegated. And the folks at Evertote were more than happy to do a conversion for me. It is posted on their website if you would like to purchase it. I'm doing my project on a 40 count Hazelwood linen by Fiber on a Whim, and here's where I've gotten to. This one is, it's so cool. The cloche part actually shows up more in person. It's very faint here, but I've almost entirely finished out all of the top butterflies, and I started in on, you know, the mushrooms and the snails. And this is a really cool, unique piece. It's a lot of stitching, but on a 40 count, it comes out to a pretty manageable size. The entire height fits within the stitching borders of my Q-snap. So once you have it in your Q-snap, you don't need to move until you're ready to move horizontally. You won't have to remove it vertically, which is very nice. My needle minder is from Top Knot Stitcher, cute little fall leaf for the X Stitch the Rainbow series that I still need to stitch because I bought the patterns and everything for that. Okay, so final 2 projects. They were both Christmas themed starts, and let's get into it. So the first one I have in my Other Evertotes bag. This is the large size, fits in 11 by 11 Q-snap perfectly, and the little llamas with the yarn was too good to resist for me. I highly recommend the project bags as well. And this is Christmas Garden by Blackbird Designs. If I haven't said that already, I kind of forgot if I did. But I am doing a conversion for mine. So this is typically a pretty traditional looking sampler, but because it's only 4 colors, I decided to play around with it and make it a little bit more modern, a little bit more me. And I wanted to do color and cotton conversion because color and cotton flosses are some of the nicest to work with. To me, they feel a lot like working with silks for the budget of an overdyed cotton. So the conversion I settled on, I am working with Ivy and Winterberry. This is a special edition, but it came out this year, so it's probably still available. Tusk. So I changed the gold to a white because to me, all of the white parts of it looked like snowflakes anyway, and I just thought it was kind of fun and more wintry. And the brown is pecan pie. So that is my conversion. If you want to see what the original called for colors look like, my friend Megan, this is also stitched along with Megan and Alexis. We all wanted to work on this pattern too. Megan is doing all of the call for flosses. So if you want to see what the more traditional look looks like, it's so beautiful. And Megan is zipping through it. She really is, she's such a talent. Go check her out. I love her so much. She's so sweet. And she is my stitchy twin because we both have bangs and we're both in our 20s. And that's it. We live on opposite sides of the country though, which is disappointing because I would love to actually see her in person. But she is gonna be my StitchCon roommate next year, so I'm really, really pumped. Anyway, this is where I've gotten to. I also showed this one on my most recent floss tube. This is a grime guard I made myself, and the needle minder is from Mad Reminders. But you can see how my conversion is working up here, how those whites are looking. This is a 36 count sampler linen by Color and Cotton, so it's entirely Color and Cotton. And this was a fabric of the month that looks very gingerbread to me, which again called Christmas, and I thought all the flosses are looking great on it. I actually have done some more work on it since I filmed my last floss tube, so there's more progress on it than you guys have seen. I finished out this deer. I added my first set of initials, which are the initials of my maternal grandfather. He is my closest grandfather. I'm going to be doing all of my immediate family's 4 initials and my maternal grandfather, because he is the grandparent that lived the closest, was always there, and I love him so much. So he makes it on the sampler because I was not going to chart my maternal line because that's not a part of my family I associate with aside from my mother. So who I love dearly. My mom's the best. She's literally fantastic. But I love my mom's dad. So he's going on the sampler. Also, you know, my core family and my maternal grandfather, that's normally who I spend Christmas with. And because this is a Christmas sampler, I wanted it to reflect that. But this is a genealogical sampler if you are into that. And I'm going to be interested to see what the other people stitching this are doing with it. We don't have a hashtag for this one. We're just stitching it. We didn't have it together enough to make a hashtag. Maybe we should. Megan, should we make a hashtag? Alexis, should we make a hashtag? Back in the bag, this one goes. Fergus, stop it. Cat's trying to knock over my water bottle. Okay, last project. Oh, I feel like we've been through the gauntlet. Are you guys still here? If you're still here, I don't know, leave me a red heart because it's the holidays, at least for me. Yeah, it's still for you guys too. Holiday season when I post this. Okay, this is Be Merry All by Park Hopper Bart. I am doing the exclusive Evertotes colorway with Leo and Roxy flosses, and I'm doing mine on a 40 count Silver Fox linen by Fiber on a Whim with the call for Leo and Roxy's, and this one is hard to show on camera. I have this in my Nerd hoop with a needle minder from Mad Reminders, but it is very faint. Fergus, I swear to the Lord. I don't know if you guys can hear him chirping, but he's chirping. Anyway, I finished a good chunk of the quote. I've only worked on this for 2 days. I've gotten quite a bit of progress. That being said, it's a fairly small pattern. But I love the way it's looking on this fabric.
I'm not sure I understand.
Cat activated Siri. So anyway, let me show you what the flosses look like for this one. I started this one on, when did I start this? December 6th of 2022. I think I've been forgetting to say when I started the last few. I'll pop it up on the screen and post. But these are the Leo and Roxy flosses. I went ahead and grabbed these just because I am working on building up my stash of Leo and Roxy's because I do love them so much. So it wasn't a hardship for me to buy these. And that marks the last WIP that I have actively working. Oh, actually, you know what? Here's the bag made by me. I sewed this. Done by me. Okay, that's everything. So if you made it this far, I so appreciate you watching. I have a few stats and a few plans, and then I will wrap this thing up and let you go, and let me go because I'm hungry. But in total, in 2022, I started 35 projects. I finished 15 projects, which I think is pretty good. My first full year as a cross stitcher, and I think that's pretty good progress. I don't start a lot of small patterns. The smallest things I start are at least 100 stitches wide. So for me, 15 is really big because I don't stitch smalls. So take that with a grain of salt. It's 15, but it's 15 bigger projects. And then I started in 2022, I only have 22 projects left that I started this year that I didn't finish. So I started 35 this year, but I only have 22 remaining from those 35 I started. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And the final number of WIPs, I will pop on the screen here because I forgot to do the math as we went along. But I am sure it's an absurdly high number that should be coming down. What can I say? I love cross stitch. I really get inspired to start things, and I'm a mood stitcher, so I start things when they speak to me. Now, as far as plans go, I am starting a new start relatively soon here. In the new year, I will be posting my plans for my New Year's Eve 12 by 12 on Monday, December 26th. So stick around for that. If you are interested in seeing my plans, I'm doing an entirely WIP-based version with a new start for the new year. And then my plans for 2023, I want to do this really cool trend that I saw on Kirsten, the 23 Flavors of Stitching is her channel. She did 25 starts for her 25th year. And I want to do that too, because I thought it was really fun, and I turn 25 next year. So it's not 25 starts on your birthday, because that's overwhelming, but it's 25 starts throughout the year. I think it'd be really good to limit myself to a certain number of starts and just really try and push through my WIPs, get more progress in on the things that I only worked on for a day. So that kind of equals out to about 2 starts a month with 3 starts on another month. I might exclude like certain holiday starts from that. But I think it'd be really fun to just kind of see what 2 projects I want to start every month. I might plan them out ahead of time and modify as I go, depending on what I'm feeling, what I have kitted, all of those kinds of things. But I thought that would be a really, really fun thing to do this year. If I want to start more of the things than that, I might. But to pick 25 to start and focus on, I think is a really, really cool concept that I want to try out. I've tried WIP Go before. WIP Go doesn't really work for me. I'm too much of a mood stitcher to work on something that's just called off of a number system. So I'm still trying to find my normal WIP rotation that I really, really like. I tend to just work on things until I don't want to work on them anymore, and it works for me, but I don't love the system. So that's another thing I'd like to find in 2023 is a WIP rotation that I love. So I am so thankful for you guys for all of the support that you've given my channel in the last 6 months. I hope this WIP parade was fun for you. It was fun for me, even though it was a gauntlet. It was really good to just lay hands on everything again, see what I've done, what I haven't really worked on, and I am looking forward to getting more WIP progress in on the next year. So that being said, I hope that you guys have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, however you celebrate, and I will see you guys after the new year with my next regular FlossTube update, and on Monday, December 26th with my New Year's Eve 12 by 12 plans and rundown. So thank you guys. I hope you consider subscribing and liking the video and leaving me a comment telling me what you're working on, what your favorite WIP was, just anything. I love reading you guys' comments. So I'm gonna go eat dinner. You guys have a happy whatever day you're watching this, and happy stitching. Bye. I feel like I've been talking for 20 years.
Do you need a sip of water?
She done?
No, not yet. She's got 2 more projects.
I've got 2 more projects.
I told her we were gonna
I've been filming for 1 hour and 8 minutes. But, you know, that being said, okay, Fergus, you're done. You're done. You're done. Go away. Go away from me now. Turd nugget. Okay, so that is that one. That whole segment was probably ruined because of the cat, but it's fine. Go away. Okay, on with the show.